everyone, welcome back to the channel. So I'm going to be doing a colour along in Karolina Kubikowska's Rising today. So she has released a new book as well, a couple of new books I think. She sort of got them out very fast. A most recent one is, it's called, I think it's some sort of circle portraits, so they're all within like a circle. The portrait's really lovely, but I've only got this one at the minute. And I thought we'd do this. I thought this would be quite nice. A lot of skin, a lot of hair, and then we can have fun with the background. The background's got bits of hair coming up, and I felt like maybe getting my pastel pencils out on the background. If you've not got pastel pencils, because I will be using, not in this video I don't think, but at some point I will be using these Carbofello, Stabilo pastel pencils in the background. But if you've got any other sort of pastels, if you've got pan pastels, if you've got the chalk soft pastels, they will all work fine as well. So yeah, but today we're going to do the hair. So I thought I'd change it up. I've been doing a lot of Johanna Basford colour alongs at the minute, so I'm going to change it up for people that don't particularly like that book. And if I can fix my camera without it going everywhere, so I thought it would be nice to switch it up a bit, just so we've got a variety of stuff going on the channel. So I'm going to do her skin first. So I've picked out, I'm using the polys in this book, and all the polychromos work well in this book, as do the Derwent Chromaflows work well in this book as well. But first off, I'm going to go in with a really light layer all over the skin with Beige Red 132, and I will just bring it down. I will bring it closer. Let's pop you over there. I don't know what I was doing with the camera, but there we go. So I'm just going to do a light layer all over the skin, possibly leaving out some areas where I want a brighter highlight. So when I come to those areas, I'll let you know where I'm going to ease off. So one of the areas is just the centre bit of the eyelid. So if I can get in a bit closer. So I'm going to go around the eyelid and then just leave sort of centre bit white. Now I have just noticed as well, when I've gone over that part there, the ink has run again. Now I noticed that with this book, with a different illustration I was colouring, whatever ink they've used, it does run a little bit. I don't know if you'll see, if I bring it up to the camera, you can see how that colour's got muddied a bit because it's brought in the ink in there. I'm not a fan of that, it has to be said. I've not had that problem in the other books as far as I'm aware of, because I do have the, I think it's called On the Other Side of the Dream. Now I don't think I've noticed that problem in that book. It is just going to do it again there around the eyelid. I'll just have to be careful. If your book's like mine, it's a bit making the ink run a bit, just be a bit aware, a bit careful. I think it always seems worse on the skin, because the last thing you want when you're doing a delicate skin is black being, you know, smudged through it. It's the last thing you want. So I've chose to do the skin first because this hair is kind of coming over the skin, and we've got strands of hair in certain places, and then we've got bits of skin. Sometimes you can't work out what's skin and what's hair, so I thought I'd best do the skin first, and then whatever I decide's hair when I'm doing the hair, it's fine, I can go over the top. If I did it the other way around, it would make things a bit trickier. Yeah, I've not done a portrait in a while. That's why I came on and I thought, you know what, I'm going to colour a portrait today. I've not done one in a while. I've not done skin in a while. And if you leave things too long before you do things, then you forget how to do them. Well, I do. Got a bad memory. Bad memory. So I'm going to just leave a little highlight under the eye as well. As if, you know, when you put, where you put your highlighter just above your cheekbone when you're doing your makeup, it's kind of there a little bit, and I'll leave a little bit of white on the edge of the nose there, not the underside but sort of around there, kind of, and maybe a bit down the centre of the nose at the top here. But the lip, I always struggle with the shadows on this lip part here. I don't know which is dark and which is not, but I always struggle with the lip area. that's about the on that. And then not forgetting the ear, because honestly, I'm the worst for leaving ears out. I could do a whole portrait and just leave the ear out and then think, oh gosh, I've missed the complete ear. And then I have to go back in with all my colours that I've used. Yeah, let's get this straight down. Nice layer there. I think it looks like, I don't know, has she got a bit of a shoulder here? See, I didn't know whether to stop here with the skin or whether to carry it on, because there's no real sort of shape to it. I'm thinking maybe she's got a bit of a shoulder going on here, maybe, but I mean, that's only from that sort of hatching or whatever you call it, shading, that you can kind of guess that maybe they put a little bit of a back and shoulder in there. But yeah, next up I'm going to go in with my shadows. So the colour I like to use for the shadows is Burnt Sienna 283. I like to use this one. It's a nice rich colour. So if you're a bit scared of going in with something so dark, just start off lightly. Just start off with your light layers. So you can just use a really light layer to start with if you're a bit scared of putting this colour down. And really, we're going all the way around the edge of the face first. So we kind of, you know, all those shadowed areas, kind of going in there. So we'll drag this out a bit. Remember, you can go as light as you want to start with if you're scared, because we can just build on these colours. If you want to add more in afterwards, when you put all your colours down, then you can go back in with it after, as long as you've, you know, got enough room in the tooth of the paper to do it. You can always go back in. What you can't do as easily is take it away, as people always say, because you start erasing, then you're not only going to erase the layer you don't like that you've just put down, you're going to erase all your layers underneath potentially if you're not careful, and then you're down to the white of the paper then, and you have to start again in that area. I know this because I've done it all too often. I've done it all too often. I'm a seasoned pro at making these schoolboy errors, just so you know. So continuing down here, down the edge of the face. Now if I'm going a bit darker or a bit lighter than you, that's completely fine. The skin is only really going to come together at the end when we get all the layers blended together, all the colours blended together. At the minute we're just sort of mapping out where we want these colours before we're doing the big blend. Going to pull that colour out a little bit over that hatching. The hatching is like a telltale, it tells you where your shadows should be. A lot of artists use this hatching for shadows. I think it's called hatching. So I'm going to go in over all that hatching on the eyelid with this darker colour. At some point I will bring some nice purpley pinky tones around the eye as well, just to make it look a bit more magical, because I feel like this page looks quite magical. She's got stars around her eyes, and I don't know, this in the background all makes it look a bit magical, like magic flowing off her. I don't know, that's just me. So that's why I was going to do a sort of soft pastel background, so I could sort of pull up some different colours and make it look like magic smoke coming up. Do you know, that type of thing? That's my idea in my head. Whether it'll turn out like that is another story, but just gonna pop a bit of colour there, joining that one. And then over this side of the eye, I hope my hand's not in the way, we'll just try and turn around so you would have a shadow here where the nose has sort of created a shadow on that side, and then we can sort of blend it into that little white area we've left. And then the side of the face, so we're going to come down this side of the face now. I think sometimes you feel more confident going in darker at the edge and then softening it up as it comes to the middle a bit more. Because you know, really, by going dark at the edges, you know, you can't really go wrong, because you have got those shadows which make the face that dark at the edges and underneath the chin. It's one of those where you can get away with it, and the jawline up here you can get away with putting a lot down there and under here. I feel like that's run under the lip again, the ink. I'm just going to deepen up under there anyway. I'm going to blend this darker colour up a little bit into this white space, but I'm not going too much into it, barely touching the page with a pencil there. Just going to bring other colours in. And I'm going to do this little nose area a bit darker, because we always have shadows around the nostrils. And again, this will come to life more when we get other colours in there as well. Sort of pull that up there a little bit. And then I'm going to move on to the ear. So we're going to have our darkest areas where the more grayscale parts are on here. You can really afford to go darker into those creases. Think about there. And then we've got the neck to do. So you can afford to go really quite dark with this pencil underneath the jawline there onto the neck. The top of the neck can be very shadowed, actually, very shadowed. And down here, and then this line under here as well, that can be quite a bit darker. So this line that's quite bright that Karolina's left, you know, brighter white, that's where the light, say the light's coming from this side, that's where the light will be hitting that part of the neck. So I am going to leave that quite a lot lighter than everything else. As we move from right under here, I'm going to make this lighter. So naturally it would be darkest here, and then as you come down it gets lighter and lighter, because this is where the light is hitting. Still a bit shadowed, but not as shadowed as right under the jawline. So all this hatching I'm going over with this burnt sienna. Hope we're still in frame. I think the only thing about doing skin on camera is that because I sort of take my time with it and layer up, it can take quite a while for a tutorial or colour along on a page like this. But if you're invested and you're enjoying it, I'm happy as well. So let me know in the comments if you enjoy portraits, or if you don't usually do portraits, if this would give you the confidence to maybe try one. I know not as many people have Karolina Kubikowska's books, because they're not as readily available, not as easy to get hold of as the Johanna books and similar books that you can get on Amazon, because this one you can't get on Amazon, unfortunately. So I'm just going to do the little shoulder bit now. So I'm going to bring a bit of this burnt sienna onto that hatching, but I'm not going to make it very dark. We're just going to put a little light covering of that, and then sort of try to blend it out a bit there. Because I think what I'm going to do with this bottom bit, because it's not really defined as to where things should be at the bottom down here, so what I will probably end up doing is just kind of gradually let the colour fade off and not really have any sort of definition to what should be down here, if that makes sense. And then when I do the background with the pastels, the soft pastels, I will kind of bring some of that colour down here to mix all that in as well. So she's like surrounded in magic and magical colours, and yeah, so I think that's the plan. So I'm just going to go back up to the face, and I've just noticed that I want a bit more of this burnt sienna just around this little bit of hatching here. So I'm just going to pop a little bit of that colour around and just blend it out. Blend it out. So there's some things that I like to do with skin. Sometimes I like to put in a sort of a light magenta, so that's like a lilac type shade, into the darker colours, and that will really bring a warmth and a, you know, a richness to the skin. Other times, if I want it more magical looking, I'll add some reds, some red browns into the skin, and some purples, some deeper purples. I think it all just depends on the illustration and where I want to go with it. With this one, I think I'm going to add some red browns into it. So around the eyes and around the darker areas of the skin, where the most shadowed areas are, I'm going to pop in some Caput mortuum. So this is Caput mortuum 169, and then once I've put this in, I'm going to use this burnt carmine 193, and that's going to really add a bit of redness to it. So, but first we're going to go in with the Caput mortuum 169, and I'm going to add it around the sort of area here. So starting from where the hair is. So this is going to be our sort of darkest area, and then we're going to add in a more red colour coming out from this. I think sometimes it's really lovely to do more magical sort of pages, because you've got more freedom. I know you can colour pages how you would like to anyway. You don't have to do them all realistic. You can literally colour a page whatever colour you want. But I think sometimes if it's an illustration, like a portrait, you're drawn to do realistic colours. But with something like this, it's a bit more freedom. To pop in a bit of colour. I think this is a really nice colour as like an undertone for a darker skin tone as well. If anybody's planning on practicing any darker skin tones. I've not done one in a while actually. There is a couple of tutorials on the channel that I've popped up some time ago, but I said I needed to keep practicing, and I've not done, well, I've not done any portraits lately, but I've not done any darker skin tones of late. I perhaps need to do that. So I'm just adding a little bit right in the corner of that shoulder, only in the right very corner, maybe around here. Now don't panic if you go over the hair strands a bit, because chances are whatever colours we use on the hair will cover up anything you've done, kind of thing. Let's get the colour in there. So it's just brought a richness to it. Someone's revving the car outside. What's that all about? They're broken down outside, or they're just having fun? I don't understand that when you see like men in cars revving them. They can be like at a standstill in traffic, and they'll rev their engines, and it's like, what are you doing that for? You just want everyone to look at you? What do you want? A bit of attention? do you, me? What am I like? Me on the other hand, I don't want anyone to look at me. I couldn't think of nothing worse than drawing attention to myself. That's just me. That's just me. So I'm going to go right around the edge of the forehead with this. Don't worry about any of these stars on the face either. You can either leave them skin coloured, or right at the end you can do something nice with them. You can put sort of a block colour of something in, or you could use a gel pen to make it more sparkly, a metallic watercolour, whatever you want. So I'm only putting a bit of that colour there. I'm barely touching the page with the colour around the eyes, but we are putting a very light layer around there, and the nosy area, a little very light layer. Barely touching the page. You've got to think, am I touching the page there? Am I sure I'm touching the page there? That's how light you want it around the nose and eye area at the minute. Now, I will go in darker down the sides of this face though. So down the side here, put a bit more of this colour in. Check I'm still in frame. I am. But I do like to take my time with skin. I apologise if this video is too long for some people. You can speed me up if you're quicker than me. I do like to take my time with it because I find you get a nicer outcome by doing lots of very light, careful layers than if you're trying to smudge all the colour down at once. And sometimes when you're putting a colour down like this around the nose area, you might think, I can't really see it going down, it doesn't really look like I'm doing much. But you are. And then at the end, when you get all the colours together, you will notice how much nicer it looks. I'm going to go around the chin area now, bringing it from this side. You can change directions with pencils as well. If you're going like one way, so if you're colouring this way and you notice that, oh, my pencil's not going into a sort of toothy bit of the paper there, then switch the way that you're colouring up and go that way, and you'll find that it'll get into that little grain, that little indentation in your paper maybe. Sometimes you do get that, you know, like little indents in your paper, and then you notice your pencil isn't going into that spot. You have to really work it in. Now at the moment we've sort of got this strange white area around the mouth here, but I don't want to go into that area with these darker colours. I'm going to save the sort of cinnamon colour to drag into that area, so we've still got some space. I'm just going to pull it up around the chin. Let's pull a little bit under the nose. A bit more, and then we've done the neck, haven't we? I'm sort of where I want to be with the neck with that colour. So now I'm going to get in that really more of a pinky red colour. You can sort of see this coming to life from what we started with. You can see the richness coming slowly, and that's what we want. That's what we want. So next up we're doing Burnt Carmine 193. And this one I'm going to start off in this sort of jawline cheek area first. And start off lightly, because if you go in really dark with this, sometimes it can be a bit too much, because it is quite a bright pinky purpley red. Don't know, what colour would you say carmine is? More pink, more purple? But yeah, you want to go gentle, slowly with this pencil, just to make sure you're not putting too much down. I mean, we do want it quite punchy, we do want it a bit bright and magical, but we don't want it too much. If you go slow, then you can add a bit, take a step back, have a look if that's where you want it to be, and then add more if you want more, rather than it being a shock because you put a big head line down of it. That's why if we start near the cheek area, if you make a mistake, it doesn't look as bad, because you can just say, oh, she's got some very bright blush on today. So I'm going to drag this colour through here, but lighter pressure, very light pressure as you get further to the centre of the face, but we're just pulling out that blush to this sort of area here. This barely touching the page. If you come near the eye, very, very light pressure. And then I'm going to do the other side, so we're going to do sort of this cheek area, so coming from the side of the eye and the face, trying to lightly bring it out. If you use very light small circular motions to pull out that colour into the middle, you just get a really nice smoother blend on it. I'll lift my beak up a bit, then the light's not causing too much of a strange glare. But yeah, I'm going to bring out from this kind of area. Doesn't these little dots look like she's got a nice freckled face? You know, when you get the freckles over the bridge of the nose and onto the cheeks. It's really pretty. I love them when they're natural, but I'm not a fan of these makeup artists what are drawing them in. No, they're just getting like an eyeliner pencil or an eyebrow pencil and just like drawing them in. I'm not a fan of that. I think some people do it very subtly, where they do look natural, and then others go too far and it just looks like black marks on the face. And I just think if I did that and went out, guaranteed I would swipe my hand across my face and smudge all the dots in it. It'd look like I'd done a dot to dot. It literally, that would be me. Right, I'm going to add some of this colour over that lovely area there that we've just been talking about. Very lightly, barely touching the page, small circular motions, and sort of joining this up to the edge here very carefully. So if you're looking at mine and you think, oh, I'd like to go in a bit bolder with that colour, you can go in a bit bolder. It's totally up to you. I'm only here as a guide. Just to help anyone who might need that little bit of confidence to bite the bullet and start a page like this. So I'm now going to add a bit of this colour to the inside of the eye. So going over all this area again, you will notice if you're colouring along and you've got this boot, you will notice that as long as your layers are light, this paper kind of takes quite a lot of layers. As long as the light layers, very light layers, get some of that colour going on there. And again on this side. There we go. And I don't know if I want to add just a little bit. You'll barely notice this, but just a little bit randomly around the neck area. Really randomly. Just adds a bit more, fills up a bit more of that white of the paper. And then on the shoulder, we're still in frame. Just a bit more on the shoulder area. Just so that when we come to blend it all at the end, there's not a massive difference in the skin tone from the face to the sort of shoulder area. You want to get some of the same colours in, otherwise it'll look like her body doesn't belong to her head. Which is what happens sometimes if you don't do your fake tan right, isn't it? Look like your face don't belong to your legs. Right, very carefully pulling that colour down. And then we're going to go in with the cinnamon. So the cinnamon is a really nice colour. It's not too light, it's not too dark, it's sort of a mid-tone for a skin. It's cinnamon 189. And we're just gonna go everywhere we've just been, but we can bring this colour further into the centre of the skin, so further into the whiter areas. So don't go into the highlights though, sort of how we want to keep a little bit of white on the nose there. Just sort of leave that little bit there, this teeny tiny bit. And I'm gonna leave that bit in the centre there and under the eyebrow. I'm gonna sort of leave a little bit under the eyebrow. You know where you do your makeup and they're like, oh, make your eyebrows, what do they call it? Sort of where you outline the bottom bit of your eyebrow. Who's into makeup? Who does the makeup a lot? You'll know what I mean, but yeah. So this is where we're going to bring this cinnamon into the areas where we've sort of left a bit lighter. So we're going to really bring these colours into the bits around the mouth. Area onto the nose, but leaving the places where we want to highlight. We're not going into the highlights that we've left. So I am going to bring this colour down the eye a little bit, sort of up to there, but then we're going to leave this little tiny shine there. We're going to leave this bit a little bit on the nose, but we can go around it with the cinnamon, so we can go around it, but just still leave that little bit of white there. And then again on this side of the face. So we're sort of just pushing all those layers into the paper with this pencil now. We're pushing all those layers we've put in into the paper with this. Leaving that little tiny bit under the eye there. And now I want this colour bringing down here into the areas near the lip that we've left white. We can go straight into that area. I'm changing up the directions that I'm going here just to really push that colour in. I think small circular motions as well make sure that we're not getting those harsh lines, those sort of strokes that people sometimes struggle with. Your circular motions will stop that happening. And your light pressure as well. If you're going lightly and you're doing circular motions, you're going to get a nice blend. So I've just noticed as well that I've not put any of that Caput mortuum or that burnt carmine into the ear. Told you I forget ears, so you can see that sort of sticks out like a sore thumb because there's no pinky redness into it, but there is all the rest of the skin. So I'll go back in a minute and pop some of them carmines and reds into that ear, otherwise it's going to look very odd. Now this is the part where we get the cinnamon down here, so this sort of white line that has been left here, we can now go into that with the cinnamon. It won't make it look so stark, but we also want it to be lighter than some of the other areas on the neck. I'm going to slightly go into these highlights that we've left on the neck, so I'm going to sort of circle the border of the highlight that we've left with this cinnamon, but I'm not going straight into it. We are still leaving a little bit of something. I think I'll cover that one actually. I don't like that one. That one would be there because it's sort of, if the light's coming from this direction, then it would kind of hit that side. And then we need to get down here. So I'm kind of going in with a sort of medium to hard pressure around the edges, really pushing that colour into the paper, and then as we come more towards the centre, I'm easing off that pressure into a light pressure and just pulling that colour towards the centre. So we're so this colour's fading off, and again down here, so pulling the colour so it's fading off into nothingness. And then when we do the background, we can really get those soft pastels coming up throughout this as well. And there we go. So I think I'm going to put a little bit more of this cinnamon just around the head. And then let's go into the ear with that carmine. So not carmine, Caput mortuum first. Caput mortuum 169. So we're just going to add a little bit of this colour. Like we did, very light pressure. We're just getting a little bit of that colour into the ear. So it looks like it belongs to the rest of her face. So it doesn't look like it's stuck out like a cell phone basically. And then we can add a bit of the burnt carmine 193, and I'm going to make sure that we've definitely got some here because it looks like the ear's then attached to the face, because we've got that lovely colour here, so we can have it joining on here. You don't have to put it all over the ear, but as long as you've sort of put a little bit on so that, you know, it looks like it's connected to her face. What am I like? There, I think that'll be just about right. And then we can go back in with the cinnamon. Cinnamon 189, and just really push that colour into the ear there. I'm going to leave a little highlight somewhere here around the top of the ear, maybe a little bit down there. And then we're going to go in with the colour we started off with first. So we started off with, in fact, I'm going to add a little bit of coral. I'm going to add a little bit of coral 131 just over the top of that burnt carmine, just a little bit over the cheeky area, just to deepen it up a bit. And over the bridge of the nose, so right in the centre of the bridge of the nose. I'm going to add this coral, so it's like it's a continuation of the cheek, over the nose. And joining it up to this side and popping a bit more into that side of the face. A little bit on the eye there. I think that's where I want to be with that. Definitely make sure that you're where you want to be with all your colours before you go in with the final coloured pencil, because once you've burnished it you're not going to be able to do much else. So I'm going to pop a tiny bit on the edge of the nose as well. Do you know, sometimes people do the makeup and they make themselves have a little bit of a pinky nose on the end. So we'll pop that in there. Yeah, now I'm going to go in with the beige red. So beige red 132, and you can burnish with this pencil. But I'm not going to go into the highlights. I'm going to go into the highlights with an ivory or a white, whichever colour you prefer. I think I'll go in with an ivory. Let me sharpen it. So I'll go into those areas with the ivory first. So ivory 103, just to make sure that we don't end up going into them with the beige red. So if we get the beige red into those areas, our highlights have disappeared. So we get them in first with the ivory, really push that into the tooth of the paper. Under the eyebrow, a little bit on the nose. And the little ear bit, go in there. Under the eye, where we sort of left a little bit there, let's go in there. Make sure that doesn't get darkened up too much. And then the little areas on the neck, we can go in with ivory there, just to make sure it doesn't get too darkened up. Maybe a bit down here. Let's go in with the beige red now. So beige red 132, we're going to burnish it all. So we're going to start at the top of the head. I'm going to get this colour all in. Don't go over your highlights with this beige red. Just sort of dodge around them. Let's get around this nose area a bit better. Blend that out a bit nicer. Into the eye. You can really work this beige red into this area here. You might be able to see on your own illustration that that needs blending more than the other areas. So we put less colour around here than the rest of the face. I switch up the direction of my pencil just so we can really push that colour in. Let's get the chin done around the bottom. And the ear, I've done the ear more or less until there's not really any space left on the ear. Let's get all this colour into the neck. Really working it into these areas doing the bottom. Now I'm going to turn the book a bit because we're running out of room on my desk, just where I get this bottom bit done. Now remember how I said once you've finished everything, if you feel like you want to go in with your darkest pencil, you can do. If you've got any room left in the tooth of the paper. And now's the time to sort of sit back and have a look at it and decide if you want to do that. See how we've sort of blended that bottom bit into nothingness. This is quite a nice blend on there. So if you wanted to add any more of the darker colour, so the first deepest colour we used was the burnt sienna 283. If you looked at your page and you thought, oh, I want to make that bit a bit darker, maybe around the forehead, you could then go in with a little bit and deepen up a little bit in some areas around the edges. You know, the shadowed areas, you could go back in with a bit darker if you wanted to. I might go in around this side of the face a little bit, just to really deepen up that shadow. You don't have to put a lot in, you don't have to bring it right down, you could just literally put a line of this colour around the hairline, just to darken up there. Have a look at the jawline as well, see if you want to deepen up anything on the jawline. Go maybe around the chin. Under the neck. I have just done the shoulder. I was out of frame then, I apologise, but I have just popped a little bit more darkness there. Maybe in this corner. So you can really still, even though we have just burnished with the beige red, there is still room to add a little bit more depth if you want to play around with it. It's entirely up to you. There we go. I'm kind of happy with where that is now. So that's her. Should we sort of have a zoom out and look at the page as a whole? If I pull my camera up, we can sort of see a bit better, get that glare off. So that's where we are with the skin. I think while we're on, what's the video, 49 minutes long, I think we may as well go in with the lips. So then that's the face done. We may as well go in with the lips. I'm not going to do the eyebrows in this video because I've not decided on hair colour yet. Sort of whatever colour I do the hair, sort of is whatever colour the eyebrows will be in my world anyway. So we'll get you down and do the lips. With this lip colour, I'm going to use two colours that we've just put into the skin. I tend to do that with lips, is pick out some of the skin colours and just pop them into the lips. So I'm going to use these two. I think these will be really pretty, the Caput mortuum and the burnt carmine. So firstly I'm going to put a really light layer of burnt carmine, 193 first. Let's get you in. I'm going to put a light layer of that first. We're going to make this really punchy though. This is going to be a really bold lip colour. Just to make it really pop off the page. And then with the Caput Mortuum 169, we're so zoomed in now. Caput Mortuum 169. Gonna go into the darker areas with this, so all around sort of that part of the lip and into some of the hatching that you can see there. Really gonna pull that colour up. And on the bottom part here. Got a frog in my throat still. Can't shift it. There we go. Then we're going to go back in with a full hard pressure of burnt carmine 193, and it's just gonna pop. These lips are gonna pop. They're gonna be cherry lips. Cherry lips. Now some people like to colour the lips so that they've got a natural highlight in there. They sort of leave it in whilst the colour, using the colour pencils. I prefer to just do sort of more or less a block colour on the lips and then add my highlight in with a white gel pen. I just feel like that's the most effective way, but everybody does it differently. So I am going to add in some white gel pen detailing in now. So maybe a little bit of a shine on the top lip. Really glossy glisten there. And maybe a few on the bottom. There we go. And now I'm just going to put, let me sort of zoom out a little bit. I've got a horrible glare on this camera. There she is. I'm going to draw in the eyelashes because we don't need to do the eyes because our eyes aren't open. So I'm just going to do the lashes. But I think, let me find my black, or I might go for, sometimes it's nice to go for like a dark sepia, something that isn't quite black, but I think we'll go in with, yeah, we'll go in with black, why not? Black 199, and we're just gonna go over the top and accentuate her sort of eyeliner and her lashes. So I'm first gonna pop in that lash line, sort of, we'll get that in first. And then I'm kind of following where Karolina's already put these sort of little lines. So sort of drag your colour from the line because we've just pulled that line out. Drag the colour from there and then take note of where the lashes start changing direction. So you'll notice on this one, they turn that way, and then when you get to sort of here, they start to overlap a little bit and then they change direction. So you'll notice that the lashes are now going this way. If you can just really pay attention to what the artist has already put into the artwork and follow it, you shouldn't have any problems. It's relatively easy to follow someone's line out. Just going to do a few little tiny ones at the end there. So that's a lot more defined. You can tell that looks a lot nicer now than this side. Because what can happen sometimes as well, when you're going over the line out with your coloured pencils, it kind of dulls it down. It puts this sort of white coating over the top of the line art. And then we're just bringing it back to life again with this black pencil. So we're just really... So find that lash line first. Really take that up there. And then I think on this side, all the lashes are kind of going in the same direction. They're all kind of flowing this way. So when you're doing the lashes, if you can kind of get a few where it's sort of, you've got some definition, so you might choose to have one line what you're going to flick out longer than the others, and it sort of gets defined so that it doesn't so it doesn't look like a big blob, basically. So it doesn't look like you've just drawn in a big blob, you've sort of got some defined ones, and you'll really get that by making sure you've got a sort of sharp tip on your pencil. So I've got quite a few little ones on their own there. I can really get a teeny tiny ones on the end. And that's it. I'm gonna put a tiny one there. Just gonna flick out that one on its own. And there we go. So let me zoom you out again. Pull my camera all the way up. It's like, oh, I've never been this high before. So we can see properly. So there's our skin. There's our skin and our lips and our nice defined eyes. So next time when we come back with part 2, it's going to be all the hair. And the hair is going to be, well, I've not decided on colours yet, but it's going to be magical. So let's just say that. It's not going to be your regular brunette, blonde or black or ginger. It's going to be something magical, I think, for this page. So yeah, stay tuned for that. Please do hit the thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, comment down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for watching, everyone. Bye bye.